It began on a quiet summer evening when the air was heavy with the scent of jasmine and the world seemed to hold its breath. Daniel had always believed that love was simple, that when you found the right person, everything else would fall into place. But he was wrong, because sometimes the right person doesn't see you at all. Sometimes the right person is looking at someone else, someone far too close for comfort. Daniel met Claire at the university library. She was sitting by the window, sunlight spilling across her hair like liquid gold. He had seen her before in passing, but that day, something shifted. She looked up, caught his gaze, and smiled. It wasn't just a smile. It was the kind that made the world tilt, the kind that made him believe in fate. He walked over, introduced himself, and from that moment, he was hers. At least, in his heart. He carried her laughter with him, memorized the way her eyes lit up when she spoke about her dreams, and convinced himself that she was meant to be his. He loved her with a quiet intensity, the kind that grows in silence and shadows, waiting for the right moment to bloom. But Daniel had a brother, Michael. And Michael was everything Daniel wasn't. Where Daniel was thoughtful, reserved, and cautious, Michael was bold, charming, and reckless. He had a way of walking into a room and making everyone notice him. He had a way of speaking that made people lean in, as if he carried secrets worth hearing. And Claire noticed him. She noticed him in ways Daniel wished she never had. It started innocently enough. Michael joined them for coffee one afternoon, his jokes filling the air, his confidence wrapping around Claire like a spell. Daniel watched, silent, as her laughter grew louder, brighter, more alive in Michael's presence. He told himself it was nothing, that she was just being polite. But deep down, he knew. He knew the way her eyes lingered on Michael's face, the way her smile softened when Michael spoke. He knew, and it broke him. Daniel tried to fight it. He tried to win her heart with patience, with kindness, with the kind of love that builds slowly and lasts forever. He walked her home after late-night study sessions, carried her books when she was tired, listened to her fears and dreams with unwavering devotion. He thought that if he gave enough, if he loved enough, she would see him. But love is not a transaction. Love is not earned by effort alone. Love is a spark, unpredictable and cruel, and Claire's spark was lit by Michael. The night it became undeniable was the night of the autumn festival. The campus was alive with music and lanterns, laughter echoing through the crisp air. Daniel had planned everything. He would take Claire to the hill overlooking the city, confess his feelings under the stars, and finally, she would know. But when he arrived at the festival, he saw her. And she wasn't alone. Michael's arm was around her shoulders, his lips close to her ear as he whispered something that made her blush. Daniel froze, the words he had rehearsed dissolving into ash. He stood there, invisible, as the girl he loved leaned into his brother's embrace. And in that moment, he understood. She loved Michael. Not him. Never him. The days that followed were a blur of silence and pain. Daniel withdrew, his heart heavy with the weight of unspoken words. He watched from the sidelines as Claire and Michael grew closer, their laughter weaving together, their hands finding each other in crowded rooms. He wanted to hate Michael, wanted to despise him for stealing the one thing Daniel had ever truly wanted. But how do you hate your own brother? How do you hate someone who never asked for your love to collide with his? Michael didn't know. He didn't know the depth of Daniel's feelings, didn't know the nights Daniel had spent dreaming of Claire's smile. To Michael, it was simple. He liked her, she liked him, and that was enough. But for Daniel, it was everything. It was betrayal without intent, heartbreak without malice. One evening, Daniel found himself sitting by the river, the water reflecting the fading light of day. Claire joined him, her presence both a comfort and a torment. She spoke of Michael, her voice soft, her eyes glowing with affection. Daniel listened, each word a knife, but he didn't stop her. He couldn't, because even in her love for his brother, she was still the girl he adored. And then she said it. She said, "I think I'm falling for him." The words hung in the air, heavy and final. Daniel forced a smile, his heart breaking in silence. He wanted to scream, to tell her that she was his, that he had loved her first, loved her more, loved her better, but he didn't. Because love, real love, is not about possession. It's about wanting someone's happiness, even if it destroys you. And so he let her go, even as it tore him apart. Michael and Claire became inseparable. They walked hand in hand through the campus, their laughter echoing in the halls. Daniel watched, always from a distance, his love buried beneath layers of quiet suffering. He tried to move on, tried to find solace in other faces, other voices, but nothing compared. No one was Claire. And no one ever would be. His friends noticed the change, the way his smile no longer reached his eyes, the way his silence grew heavier with each passing day. But Daniel never spoke of it. He carried his pain alone, a secret he would never share. The turning point came months later, when Michael and Claire had their first fight. It was small, insignificant, the kind of argument couples have and forget. But to Daniel, it was a crack in the perfect picture, a glimpse of hope he didn't want but couldn't ignore. Claire came to him, tears in her eyes, seeking comfort. And Daniel was there. He held her, listened to her, reminded her of her worth. For a moment, it felt like the world had shifted, like maybe, just maybe, she could see him. But hope is a dangerous thing, because when the fight ended, when Michael apologized and Claire forgave him, the crack sealed, and Daniel was left with nothing but the memory of what could never be. Years passed. Daniel graduated, built a life, tried to bury the love that had defined him. Michael and Claire married, their wedding a celebration of joy and family. Daniel stood beside his brother, smiling for the cameras, his heart breaking behind the mask. He toasted their happiness, wished them well, and carried his secret into the shadows. He loved her, he always would. But she loved his brother, and that was the truth he could never escape. Yet, in the quiet moments of his life, Daniel found something unexpected. He found strength in his pain, resilience in his heartbreak. He learned that love, even unreturned, shapes us, teaches us, makes us more human. He learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go. And though he would always carry the memory of Claire, he also carried the lesson she gave him. That love is not about being chosen, but about choosing to love, even when it hurts. And so, Daniel lived. He lived with the ache of what could have been, but also with the wisdom of what was. He loved her, but she loved his brother. And in the end, that was enough to remind him that love, in all its forms, is both the most beautiful and the most devastating thing we will ever know. Because sometimes the story isn't about winning love. Sometimes the story is about surviving it. And Daniel did. He survived. He endured. And in that endurance, he found a quiet kind of victory. A victory not of possession, but of understanding. A victory not of having, but of letting go. And that, perhaps, is the truest kind of love there is.